Rookie week is underway at Bill Armstrong Stadium, and that means Little 5 is inching closer. Little 5 is the famous bike race that Indiana University holds every year. This year, the women will be racing for the 32nd time on April 12th, and the men will race for the 69th time on April 13th. Mason Tyree is one of those rookies racing for Crew Cycling this year. Polar Vortex? Never heard of her, but she made her presence quite known this past Wednesday in Bloomington. Students and faculty bundled up as wind chills dropped as low as negative 36 degrees on Wednesday. Classes at IU were canceled for the first time in 5 years. More than 28,000 students signed a petition on change.org to get classes canceled. However, there is good news for Hoosiers as the temperature is supposed to hit 65 degrees on Super Bowl Sunday. Welcome into sports. I'm Jacob Vinson, and as you can see, wearing a Christmas sweater. Today, the Colts were trying to finish off a perfect no-travel November and cement themselves as a legitimate contender in the AFC playoff picture, but it wasn't as pretty of a performance as they might have liked. Former Colts running back, listening to Back Home Again in Indiana as he's coming back to Indy, played with the team for 3 seasons. And you remember last week, well, the Colts tried to complete a touchdown pass to Andrew Luck. This week, they tried him again, going up high for this one, kind of looking like Reggie Wayne on that catch to convert the 4th down. Andrew shook off the big hit and hits Eric Ebron for his 11th touchdown of the season, ties the game up at 24 with 4+ minutes to go. A little later on, the defense gets a big stop, and the big man, Adam Vinatieri, finishes off another game-winning field goal from 32 yards as time expires. Indianapolis wins their 5th straight, 27-24. I've been a lifelong fan. Well, that's a strong sentiment. I've been aware of the Indiana University football program ever since my dad introduced me to being a fan of Indiana athletics. My first IU football game was in 2009 against the Wisconsin Badgers. I don't remember much about the game, but I do remember that was the first time of many that IU football had let me down. The Hoosiers lost that game 31-28. That day, I had been sucked into the cruel game that is being a fan of Indiana football. Get excited for 2 or 3 quarters just to have your hopes crushed by the lack of consistency and finishing that any competent football team needs. For years, I've been saying, well, at least we have basketball to look forward to. But when does that change? When does someone come to a sad Indiana football program and change the culture? This season was much of the same. Hey, Indiana played well against Ohio State for 2 quarters. Did you see Indiana lost to Michigan in OT? Indiana lost to Maryland? I thought Purdue's program was worse than Indiana's. That's the DNA of Indiana football. Will it change? Who knows? Sam Niederman is a junior at IU studying sports broadcasting. This past weekend, he called the IU versus Louisville basketball game for WIUX, and I wanted to get a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into making a good broadcast.
First thing I do is I make my spotting boards. I want to get everything down for Louisville. I obviously know everything I need to know about Indiana as far as the basics go. I'll expand on the details of how the team is playing and their recent form, stuff like that.
Knowing lots of information is key in broadcasting, so Sam must be able to break it down into smaller steps.
Number 1 priority, player ID. I want to make sure that I have every single player for both IU and the opponent memorized, name and number. Especially in radio, you're not going to have too much time to delve into stories or much like that. That's more for your analyst. After Sam has broken down all the information he needs and has his spotting boards done, he's ready to head to the hall. So I like to get there about 2 hours beforehand. When I get there, get the lay of the land, maybe go down on the court or the field, get the feel, get the pulse of the teams.
Once he's settled in at assembly, Sam has to set up the equipment, but not before he does a few rituals.
I have a couple of superstitions. Number 1, while we're setting up equipment, I have to blow on everything that you actually plug in. So any XLR for a mic or any USB or Ethernet cable, I just blow on it for good luck.
He may be a top-notch broadcaster, but that doesn't mean he doesn't like to have fun during the broadcast.
I'll make sure that we have good rapport beforehand. We always do. Have a good time, keep it loose. We're having fun. It's a jam sesh.
Once all mics and cords have been properly blown into and plugged in, Sam can connect to the radio station and start the jam sesh.
Today we are live from Assembly Hall where the Indiana Hoosiers meet the Louisville Cardinals. Here in Bloomington, it's a December Saturday for a fantastic non-conference matchup between 2 rivals who are meeting today for the 20th time in their program's history. Hello, I'm Sam Niederman. Glad you're along with us.
For IU Sports Media, I'm Jacob Vinson.